Welcome to Business Leader Breakthroughs, where we help unlock the potential in you, your teams, and your business. I'm your host, Ryan Castle, along with Dr. Mike Ashby. We'll share insights, experiences, and stories on achieving breakthrough success in business and life. In addition to a podcast, The Breakthrough is a coaching and advisory business that provides programs for business leaders, owners, and managers to develop your skills and capabilities to boost your business and enjoy a better life. To learn more, click the link in the episode show notes or go to thebreakthrough.co. Now let the breakthroughs begin. Mike, on today's podcast, we're going to talk about meeting magic.
Meeting magic.
Of course, one of the topics in our active management program. I think we all know as business leaders that meetings are an essential part of how we run a business.
Critical.
They're certainly not the only way.
Yep.
And meetings done well are a very, very effective tool in a business. Meetings done poorly are an absolute killer.
When we worked exclusively with business owners, as we did for a long time, a lot of them we had to help them get over the line of being opposed to meetings. And that was because perhaps in their corporate world, in their corporate experience, meetings were a place to go and kind of, leave your brain at the door. They took a lot of time from a lot of people. And a lot of business leaders have just got a kind of a pathological distrust of meetings. And that's just wrong. They are still bringing people together face to face and having roundtable discussions. It's just a really fundamental piece of human interaction. And no matter how virtual we get, and we know this because we've Zoomed and kind of remoted for years, nothing replaces that face-to-face, F2F we call it, F2F interaction. So it's really important that we learn how to run them well so that we all get the most out of it.
And meetings done well will beat an email chain all day, every day.
All day, every day.
The amount of, you'll hear us talk about mindfulness at work as a critical concept, about developing the soft skills and emotional intelligence. You get to use a lot of emotional intelligence in a meeting because you read body language, you read tone, you can see where people's attention and focus and energy is. You don't get to see any of that in some of those other mediums like email or Slack or whatever channels you might be using.
Yeah, and we're big users of that stuff. We use WhatsApp, we use Asana, all those sorts of things, but nothing replaces a face-to-face meeting.
Run well.
Done
in the right way.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, in our active management program, you talk about what can derail a meeting, and there are several of them. So, can you help us today with some of what we might observe that are taking our meetings off course, and then how we might get them back on track? Or rerail is rerail.
Rerail. Yeah, rerail.
Rerail?
I did call them rerail. Yeah. Yeah, they're the usual villains of meetings. Let's start with, as we were talking about this, I immediately thought of the topic changer. And I can remember this guy. I was trying to facilitate a strategy session, and this guy had this nasty little habit of chiming in on the conversation, on the discussion at point, and kind of going, yeah, well, I think so and so. But then, I think what we also need to do, and every time he would go off like that to the topic he wanted to cover. Every single time he would steal the conversation. And look, what do we do? How do we rerail that? The mindfulness at work pieces is what's really going on here. Now, at one level, we could follow that guy down that rabbit warren. That's not mindful. Mindful is, here's our topic. Oh, this guy is making a little comment about that so that he can segue off into his track. If that's what's happening, I, as the meeting runner, need to kind of manage that. And you interrupt, actually, because what they're doing is rude. They're taking the platform and making it their own. They're hijacking the meeting. So the hijacker, you just go, yeah, look, can we just hold on to that thought? You can let them finish or her finish, just let them go and just say, okay, good point. Let's just kind of park that one for the moment and come back to. So, because you're running the process. Yes. You're the leader running the process.
Yep, that's a goodie. What about the people that perennially turn up late to our meetings?
Yeah, and I think everybody has this problem. One of our active management program clients said the really interesting thing about this program is it's the only meeting. The collab meeting is the only meeting that people turn up to on time. Great testament to the program,
sure,
of course. But and I think all you can do there is, well, number one is be there on time yourself, because as the leader, you set the tone. If you're late, everybody else will be late. So number one, be there on time yourself. Second, start on the dot. Never recast, never go back over. for the benefit of those who come late, here's what we've been talking about for the last 5 minutes. Never. I used to wait, when I was running seminars, I'd wait, I need a few more bums in the seat, etc. And somebody said, look, I made the effort to get here on time. How about you start? All right, fair point. So just start. And people will either work out that they're going to miss out, and if that's their call, that's their call. And, that's their choice.
Yeah. And I think when you first set a meeting up, actually agreeing what the framework and the must-haves for the meeting are, so you get everyone to buy in at the beginning, going, hey, you need to be here on time, we are going to be starting on the dot, there will be no recap, setting those ground rules is really helpful as well. Yeah. Okay, what do you do with the dominator, the person that just always wants to take over the conversation?
There's always one.
At least. Sometimes two.
So actually, as I think about it, it's probably quite often me.
And as our good friend and fellow coach Britta would say, and what will you do when you hold up the mirror?
Yes. Yes. Oh, I'll just turn it around. What I tend to do with people who make a lot of contribution in the meeting, as soon as I find a gap, cut them and move to somebody else and invite others to speak. And what do others think? And sometimes if it goes on, I will actually say, Ryan, Mike, actually, let's be honest, mirror. Mike, loving your contribution, but I'd just like to hear from somebody else. And all you're doing, again, you're just paying attention to the process. Because people like me, we know we talk too much. And
beautiful voice though, and we love the sound of it.
Dulcet. So I'm perfectly relaxed if somebody says, let's hear from somebody else. I know that it's the game. You're not offending anybody by just simply saying, can we just hold your view for a minute, let's hear from somebody else. Polite, constructive, professional.
Yeah. And what about when we get into this repetition loop? Sometimes it's individual, sometimes it's the whole meeting where we feel like we're going round and round in circles, talking about the same thing. We might be reinforcing what's already been said, but it has been said. What do we do when we've got the repetition loop happening?
I think one of the great skills of a meeting runner is to summarise. It takes practice and practice and practice. And doing it deliberately and mindfully is, especially when the conversation is starting to kind of loop, again, you're aware of it rather than running in the loop yourself. It's a simple summary that summarise that point the person is making. So what I hear you say is ... Is that correct? And they say, well, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they go, okay, so that, and you box it. And then when they come back to it, as they will, because these tend to be one-trick ponies. They've got a thing on their mind. And you say, look, I think we've got that point, understood what you said, got it. Now, can we, and again, you just push the meeting to somebody else. People who are particularly fixated on things, and people do get like that, even I may get a bone that I want to kind of be somewhat dog-like with.
Yes.
I don't mind being told to kind of let it go, dude, you kind of made your point.
Yep, loud and clear. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And I think overarching here is one, the mindfulness, so the awareness of what's going on in the room and that we are seeing these things. The second one is that term psychological safety within teams, that we, you're very comfortable with me going, Mike, we've heard you, we've done it, we're moving on.
Yeah.
And you've got to have that kind of trust in a team to be able to do that effectively.
Yeah, for sure.
How do we handle the different types of processes? So in our team we have
do we handle these things,
talk out loud processor. For those of you not in video, I'm pointing at Mike. He can process very quickly, talks out loud, he can formulate ideas and make decisions very quickly. I am the what I'd call the silent processor. I just need 5 or 10 seconds of everyone, could you please shut up, so I can work my way.
5 or 10.
So I can okay, maybe occasionally a little bit longer, so that I can process it. I kind of map it all out in my head, and then I'm pretty quick getting to a decision. And then we have team members that are overnight processors. So they're like, okay, take that on board, that's good. I can't give you my decision, my kind of feedback right now. I need to think about it. How do we manage that in the meeting environment?
I think it is just understanding people's different processes, and they're pretty much the extremes, the kind of think out loud type. I can remember saying to my wife early on in our relation, before we married and all that kind of stuff, we actually worked together. She'd say after the meeting, oh, I thought so-and-so, and I'd go, why didn't you say something? She said, well, I was just kind of working out, getting my points together and then waiting for the opportunity. And by the time that happened, the conversation had moved on. And I said, oh, well, look, I don't even know what I think until I start talking. And her jaw dropped. She's like, no, seriously, oh my God. And pretty much from that day, she started doing that. She just dive in.
Yeah.
And look, her career just rocketed. Seriously, she made such a, obviously a great contribution to make.
Sure.
But just switching that process. So she was too much processing. As a meeting leader, between you and I, you and I have worked closely for a long time, and I have got to the point of zipping it rather than rushing. When I've said something and you're sitting there and I'm thinking, he hasn't heard. Did I say anything? Is there anything actually going? What? And I'm still waiting. I could just about set the timer. And early on, I would kind of jump in to kind of clarify or push you along or help you find the words because come on. I've now learned, I think, Ryan.
You have.
I think I say to people, like with others in the room, like in our board meeting, I'll say to the chairman, just give him a minute. And I think in part that's part of the trust thing that goes on with a team, and the meeting leader saying, Ryan, what do you think? And then just waiting, and I think I've even done this, probably have. I can remember times where people will want to jump in because there's a silence. So just a second. It's your job as meeting leader.
Yes.
You are running the traffic, and it's a responsibility and a piece that you've got to pay attention to. And if you know that you've got an introvert or a processor, a silent processor, you've got to give them space. And to that psychological safety piece, they've got to have space to process their thoughts and then deliver in their time.
Yeah.
So again, it's just being mindful of how different people process things.
One more, what do we do when we find our meetings running out of time? Because that's a continuous experience for many people in many organisations where the meeting seems to be going well, they're deep, but they're like, oh God, we've only got like 5 minutes left to do. What do we do?
I think again, that kind of art of summarising, trying to wrap the discussion and then set up another meeting for another discussion. So this is where we've got to right here, and these will be the points that we want to kind of take on going into the next meeting. In general, we should probably, and again, this is another kind of, what do they say? My eyes have seen further than my feet have trod. Yeah. I always have a thing in presentations that I'm going to run out of material. So I tend to kind of ease in slowly and warm up, and then have to run quite quickly at the end.
Yes.
So, my lifelong quest has been to finish on time without just chopping a whole lot of content and say, we'll come back tomorrow and do that. And part of it is just pushing myself along at the start. And it's the same with meetings. And the other piece, of course, is to do the most important stuff first.
Yes.
To be really careful about the agenda. I was in a board meeting where we always used to run out of time for the big strategy discussion. We'd spend all the morning and half the afternoon on operations. And then, about our positioning and what's going on in the industry. Sorry, I got a plane to catch. My strong thing was turn it around.
Flip the agenda.
Start with strategy, start with the big picture, industry, market, etc. And then at the end of this time, we can do the updates on where we're at with the operational stuff, the management stuff.
And particularly in a board context, that's the job of the executive team to running the operations.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
yes, of course, some insight for the board is useful, but work on those other elements is far more critical.
Generally, that's true.
So, because we know that one of the good things to do in a meeting is to summarise where we've got to, let's do that for this podcast.
Let's summarise.
Are you going to do that?
Well, I think I would summarise, my summary point would be the job of the meeting leader is to observe what's really going on. That's the mindfulness at work piece, which is what's happening in this meeting. It's actually very common sense in terms of dealing with derailers. It's perfectly obvious what you do with them. And you be professional and you be direct. They get it. So long as you're both those things, so long as you're not, rude and cutting them off.
Yes.
But the real key bit is to know what's going on. Is that a summary? I
think it's the perfect summary because it's if there's one thing you could take into your next meeting is to be mindful of what's going on in the room.
Pay attention to the dynamics.
If you're paying attention to those dynamics, as you say, they're actually pretty easy to manage if you're aware of them, but keep that awareness front and centre and you'll be amazed how much more effective and efficient your meetings become.
And you just follow your instincts. You just listen to your own instincts. You think, gosh, this person seems to be hogging the airwaves. If you think that, they are. If you think that somebody is being negative, they probably are in a conversation with them outside the room or whatever, or that they're kind of hogging the agenda or steering it. Follow your instincts and be deliberate about managing that process.
And bring active mindfulness to what's going on in the room, but also to yourself.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And then it all starts with us.
Yeah, that's the hard one actually, especially kind of talking too much. And if you're running the meeting and actually
you've got all the best ideas.
Well, of course you have. Never happens.
Hold up the mirror. Yeah. Thanks team, appreciate you joining us today. If you've got any insights in what makes great meetings work for you or experience have you had in your environment, throw us a comment, drop us a line. We'd love to hear and have those shared out with our audience. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Cheers.